Hi, welcome to episode 1 of my stock photo journalist journey. I'm Angel, by the way. You can call me Aunt Angel, and I have decided to get more serious about trying to sell some stock photography, which I've been accumulating for really decades, with some mindfulness for at least a couple years. And I sort of half-heartedly attempted to make some collections online probably 5 years ago now, and then I just petered out like I do in so many things. But as of last night, I've decided to give it a part-time job worth of attention for, let me publicly commit to the rest of this year. It's September right now, so October, November, December, I am going to commit to giving it part-time. Let's make that at least 15 hours a week of my attention, and from now until the end of the year, and then I will reevaluate and decide whether it seems worth it. I have heard that it's fairly easy. I don't know if easy is the right word. I've heard, let's see, I wrote down a stat that I ran across. 53% of producers make at least $500 a month in sales. And then I read a little further on that often takes about 6,000 or more photos. And then there was an estimate that seemed way out to me. In any case, I want to share, partly to share and hopefully encourage you and inform you as I go through this process step by step, and also to document the process, hopefully to also encourage myself and motivate myself to keep at it and to continue to look for ways to improve, because of course I'm just starting out, and so I'm gonna have some learning curve, some things to learn, right? Some failures. I tend to be a jump right in and learn as you go type of person, which leads to a lot of failure. In fact, one of my favorite phrases is the master. Ooh, that's my bug zapper. Speaking of failure, the master has failed more times than the novice has even tried. Anyhow, that's probably just an excuse sometimes that I use to fail a lot. But, it's only failure if you're not learning, right? It's feedback. Again, I don't always tend to pay attention. Sometimes I just delight in the process of things, which I think is probably fine. But I am going to try to make some money on stock photography. I have art and, architecture things, and this YouTube channel, and lots of other things I hope to make some money on as well. And I started writing more regularly in that same kind of avenue of hopefully to build up a repertoire of work, a portfolio that then can become maybe not completely evergreen, but easier to build upon once I have that framework, that scaffolding, that portfolio. So let's get into my first session since I've committed to selling my stock photography. Last night I watched a couple of videos, and I forget the gentleman's name right now, but I will mention him later because he's been very helpful, and maybe I'll even put him in the show notes. But I decided to, follow someone's lead who's making a successful living. He's not one of those people that's making a ton of money. He's just making a decent living at it, I think. And, I think I gather that it waxes and wanes like so many freelance opportunities out there. So my first, I'm going to call it 10 hours, including the couple hours of videos or half an hour of videos that I watched. It was probably more than an hour of videos that I watched last night. And I'm not going to count my actual time photographing, because that's been years, or my time learning about photography, because again, years of that. So we're just going to set that aside and talk about my time and experiences with the various platforms, and my learning curve as I learned to edit and upload and title and, meta tag, all that stuff. after I looked into it a little bit last night and decided that I was going to do that, which was a significant step, then this morning I happened to get up early, and so I put in a good chunk of about 6 hours by noon, and that included some more review of a couple more videos. It included filling out the applications on Shutterstock and on Adobe Stock. And I think I got through the Getty. Maybe I'm not all the way through the Getty application. And I looked at several others. And I will say I had a hard time finding the contributor page. Not a hard time is probably an exaggeration, but I'd have to scroll to the bottom of the page to find it in most cases, even when I followed direct links from articles. So once I found them, all this, again, could be a lot faster, but I'm just giving you my real-time experiences. It could take longer too. So I was able to, in that 6 hours, get an account on Adobe and Shutterstock and look at several others and kind of start looking into that. Oh, and I submitted 3 onto Alchemy, I think it's called. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Those are like the top 3 that I found were listed right now as places to sell, and I could not find any concrete listing of how much they actually pay, but I'm gathering it's like 5 cents, 25 cents max, something like that per, for commercial use. So the trick is to get stock photos that are saleable repeatedly. And I will say that the tips that I'm gathering from the gentleman who I've been watching on YouTube, it has a lot to do with using photos that people will use in marketing, so with a white background with lots of different variations, and then also concept photos, which I hadn't really thought of, and I was grateful that he brought that to my attention. And then maybe just objects and things. I do take a lot of pictures of objects and plants and art and things like that, so I'm going to be learning and editing. I did submit some of my photos without really editing, just iPhone, some of my better iPhone pictures, and spent time, putting the meta tags in and titling them and all that. And right now I'm working with a pretty old PC that won't really download. It won't run any Adobe programs right now. It's just too full. So I'm having to make do with a basic pictures program for some basic cropping and brightening. And I did that on a second batch of photos. The first batch, I really just uploaded directly from a folder on my PC into Adobe and into Shutterstock, and 3 into the Alchemy. I have to wait for them to get back to me. And then I filled out all the information, all those, and that took a while. About 50 on each of those platforms by the time it was all said and done. Actually, I think I have about more than 100 already on Shutterstock, because what I found is Shutterstock was by far way faster for uploading stuff and putting in the data. I can't remember now. I think maybe it was actually Adobe that let me do batches of data, and that was handy. Again, still learning and just trying to share as I go along things that caught my attention, so perhaps I can save you some time. I do see already that I'm going to have to spend some more time organizing, setting up some folders, and I'm still having trouble that hopefully will dissolve when I get a new computer, which is on my to-do list by the end of this year. But I'm determined to just make do with what I have, and that's another reason I'm sharing with you. Hopefully it can be of some use. I did look at some programs and compare, like InPixio and Movavi, and of course the Adobe products I keep looking at and wanting. I've looked at Corel a lot, but all of them run about 30 to 60 bucks a month, or a year rather, for a good just picture editing program. And then of course, 60 bucks a month if you want Creative Cloud. And that's actually quite reasonable and quite doable. It's just that right now, since my computer won't really run things, I'm going to wait on all of that. And so what I'm sharing with you will be with the bare minimums, just what my computer has, a very basic photo editing program where it will crop and do some basic, light and color and sharpness. I think those are the three sliders that I have. It's very, very basic, but it is sufficient, I think, to do. Right now, I'm just starting with a lot of my, what I would call my, I almost said my dregs. I have a lot of just standard photos. They're pretty good, but I'm going to keep back my best photos to do different things with on my own website and perhaps make prints. And, of course, there's a whole slew. More than half my photos that I take are just crap, and I'm not going to do anything with those. But of the ones that are decent, I'm trying to pick through probably about half of those and upload those. And so far, so Shutterstock only took, even though it said it could take longer, it took less than an hour or two, I think. Before noon, I had already a big batch approved from them, I think 50, and then I have like 29 more that I haven't been able to figure out how to add. I've tried a couple times, so obviously I will figure that out. But meanwhile, Adobe accepted 51 for review, but say they may take up to 4 days, I think they say, or up to 4 weeks, it says, for them to get back. Now, I've heard from the guy on the YouTubes that it probably won't take that long, but it could, so I'll keep updating on that. Meanwhile, I'll keep uploading on Shutterstock, since that's good to go, and wait to hear back from that alchemy one, and continue to look into a couple of the other ones, including Getty, and there's a couple others, like 365, I want to say, something like that. Anyhow, there you have it, like a smattering update of how my first 10 hours or so went, setting my goal, publicly stating that I am going to keep giving it part-time attention. Let's say an average of 15 hours a week. So minimum of 10, and if I don't hit my 15, then I have to make it up the next week. I'm just stating the rules for myself. So an average of 15 hours a week through the end of this year, mid-December, 3 months, and I will reevaluate at that time and see whether I am going to continue or not. But my goal is to get at least 6,000 photos on there. Like I've heard it requires to make $500 a month. And let's set that for my first goal. Of course, I could set the first goal at $100 a month. Yeah, I will be celebrating at $100 a month. So let me set my first goal at $100 a month income from stock photos online, which isn't entirely passive, because as I'm going to be sharing, it's going to be a lot of work, but it is something that I hope can gain momentum, and also is going to help me improve my photography skills and my editing skills, and just give me a new interface with what's trending in humanity that I'm excited about. So for 6,000 photos, I saw someone say that it was nice to aim for 50 to 100 a month, but I think based on the fact that I already submitted 50 for review to Adobe, and I've already had more than 50 accepted from Shutterstock, that my intention is going to be at least, dare I say, 500 a week? That seems like a lot. Let's say 100 a week minimum, and I may modify that, but I'm going to start with 15 hours, 100 a week. I'm going to have to spend quite a bit of time. There's a lot of learning curve, a lot of slowness with my data and my PC and all that. All that will get much, much faster if you have a better computer, a better system. I bet you could do a lot better, and if you are, I would love it if you care to share, if you want to have a little friendly competition, and or if you just want to share some tips or some questions or anything like that. I totally welcome that. I think in many ways we're all in this together. I'm excited about taking advantage of the opportunities that are out there, try to utilize that to offset my need for income, my shifting needs. I haven't been able to do as much physical stuff as I used to do, so it's a good time to focus more on writing on Medium and stock photography, and then my own artwork and prints and print-on-demand stuff. So I'll keep you posted on all of that, because that's what I'm going to be into, as well as my podcast, still on hold, but still on my mind. And I'd love to know what you're into. Let me know. Stay courageous, stay curious, stay free. I'll talk to you soon.